themselves to each other. Okay? And I mentioned a couple: love, religion, family, culture, history. We can all find something in common through any or all of these means together. Okay, so money isn't the only one that links us together. There are these other human things as well. Okay, and money should not be the only thing. But, and here's the point: it's powerful because interest is powerful. Okay? I'm not saying these other things aren't powerful too, but interest is a very powerful thing. It may not be the only thing in human life, but it is a very strong motivating factor that people's own interests are present. And it may carry with it the virtues we've mentioned. I mentioned it's also a tool for peace and cooperation. So, let's talk about money vis-a-vis these other things. Okay? Love, religion, family, culture, history. Well, they're a source of bonding, a source of cooperation, a source of connection, but they're also a source of strife and conflict. Probably I need to exclude love from that, but you can see in the other cases, differences of religion, differences of culture, family wars. I mean, these things have been as much sources of conflict as they have been sources of cooperation and human connection. Okay, so maybe money isn't so bad off as it may first seem, because even if you assume that people do some bad things to each other on account of money, they do bad things to each other on account of a lot of other things that people regard as good as well, right? And the one thing about money is that these other things may know no limit to conflict, but if you start having conflicts with people that you're trading with, you end up not getting a lot of money from them, right? I mean, there's an incentive towards peace and cooperation when you're talking about mutual interest and you're talking about the medium of money. The incentives towards cooperation, if you radically differ on culture or history or religion, maybe not so great. Maybe the conflict can go to extremes. And we've seen in human history lots of very disastrous conflicts that have occurred in all these areas because of differences in family, culture, origin, and that kind of thing. Money, it's got a few problems, but basically it seems to be the kind of thing that keeps people working together more cooperatively than perhaps some of these other things. So again, I'm not trying to downplay any of these other things, but I am trying to give you the whole dimension and the whole perspective, and these other things may have their problems too. So, appealing to interest could be a form of respecting the other as a responsible, self-directed person. I know, again, this sounds strange in the context of money, but if I'm dealing with you and dealing with your interests, basically, and respecting your property rights, I am, in a way, respecting you. And even if you are a friend of mine, it may still be the case that one way of respecting your friends is to treat their property and their interests and their money with the same sort of respect that you would have to do so with somebody else. So if I was, let's say, buying a car from you, I may do the same thing by having you sign contracts and having the lawyer look it over and so forth, even though you're a friend, that I would with the next person. Well, why? Because I respect your autonomy and I respect that you're an individual person, and I respect the notion that we don't want to have any problems of conflict between us as human beings. Now, government and money. Institution most capable and likely to utilize the vices connected with money that we've mentioned are government, more so than individuals. It coerces, it devalues, and it instrumentalizes individual values, okay? So you're pursuing some end that you think is good and you're spending your money on it, the government can come along and tell you, no, that's really not where your resources should be devoted. They should be devoted over here. I'm going to take some of this money and move it over there because I think that's where it ought to go as opposed to where you think it should be. We've mentioned it can devalue your money. We've mentioned it can coerce you and take your money, okay? These are all forms of what I've called disrespect, and the government as one instrument in doing that. Still depends on there being wealth produced. You can only exploit so much, but depending how wealthy you are, it can go a long way. Now, in this connection, if you read the speech and if you read the book itself, you'll notice that the only money that really counts for Rand is gold, And I'm not an economist, so I'm not going to try to defend the gold standard or anything like that. We can talk about that if you like. But I will just want to briefly give you some ideas to why she does that. First of all, it seems to her that gold, being an external commodity not made up by government, puts a limit on government of some sort, right? So that's one reason to value it. It's dependent on exchange rather than for politics for its value, okay? So, if it's got value, it's because we want it, right? It's not because somebody tells us, you have to value this so much because the government tells you this piece of paper is worth X amount. It's also harder to devalue and distort its value than government-produced money is. So it's a little harder for an external party like the government to play around with in that respect. And, of course, paper is a means of handing money and its values over to government completely. I mean, that's what it's all about. So, following graph, an illustration of what may happen. What you've got here basically is the consumer price index determined, and you see what happens to this consumer price index when Nixon takes the U.S. off the gold standard in 1971, which would put it about here. You can't see that. And then all of a sudden, the price of goods goes through the roof. You don't have a stable system anymore, and now everything has become increasingly more expensive. Why? Because there's no limit on what government can do any longer. It doesn't have to deal in terms of gold. Here, one of the arguments against gold is that gold, somebody might find a new mine and all of a sudden it will devalue the amount of gold. Well, it's not really a problem. This chart goes back to 1833, and you can see that the price of gold has been pretty stable until, again, in the U.S., Nixon took us off the gold standard in 71, and now the price of gold just goes up and down depending on how the market is completely, right? Because it's not money anymore. It's this other commodity also that people think they're going to value, because what you're guessing about when you play the market is the government's going to screw up or not screw up, and so that's going to affect the price of gold over time. Well, I guess all right, so this is again the point of the speech. So long as men live together on earth and need a means to deal with one another, their only substitute if they abandon money is the muzzle of a gun. Well, that's back to the liberty question again. That's back to the freedom question. That's back to the respect question. That is the essence of the talk that Francisco gives in the novel, and I think that is essentially my point at the end.